For all humanity, Israel is the key to the peace of the world and to future events. What are the future events? Are they written in Bible prophecy? Can we understand what is to take place in this remarkable land? What you are about to discover is amazing. But before we acknowledge such a possibility, let's briefly look at the history of Jerusalem. The first mention of the city by the name of Jerusalem is found in the book of Joshua in the 10th chapter. We are told here that Untitled, king of Jerusalem, led a coalition of kings against Joshua and the Israelites. After a fierce battle, the Israelites defeated them in the valley of Ayalon. However, it wasn't until 2 centuries later, sometime around 1000 BC, that King David conquered the city from the Jebusites and made it the capital of the Jewish nation. Later, David's son Solomon built a temple in Jerusalem. King Solomon had great dreams for this new nation, but it was not to be. Not long after his death, the kingdom split into 2 nations. The northern nation of Israel was doomed from the start, with corrupt kings and lawlessness that lasted for 200 years. In contrast, the southern nation of Judah prospered and even retained Jerusalem as its capital. Over time, though, Judah also began to fall into corruption and disarray, and so began the demise of the promised Jewish homeland, just as Ezekiel prophesied.
For thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will deliver thee into the hand of them whom thou hatest, into the hand of them from whom thy mind is alienated. They shall deal with thee hatefully, and shall take away all thy labor, and shall leave thee naked and bare.
In the 10th and 11th chapters of the book of Daniel, the prophet writes specifically about who these conquering armies will be.
Lo, the prince of Grecia shall come, and by his strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven. And not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those.
Overwhelmed by the armies of Alexander the Great, Israel fell under Greek rule in 340 BC. Later, the Romans invaded and occupied the region until they were eventually driven out by the Byzantines. Over hundreds of years, one invading army after another conquered and destroyed Jerusalem, nearly leveling it to the ground each time, dispersing the Jewish people out from this land. For centuries they migrated all over the world. This brings us to a point in time where we can evaluate the prophecy of Israel as fact or fiction. For it is during this time that we begin to see the realization of events documented in writing over 2,000 years before they happened.
Let's begin with one of the most gruesome prophecies in the Bible. It is a prophecy given by Moses concerning the worldwide dispersion and persecution of the Jewish people. And to provide that prophecy with a proper context, let's go to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum. This ghastly sculpture of prisoners dying on electrified barbed wire is on the grounds of the Jewish National Memorial to the Holocaust victims. Every time I come here, I think of the prophecy that God delivered through Moses, warning the Jewish people that if they were not faithful to him, he would cause them to be dispersed and persecuted all over the world.
It shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. The Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. And thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
For the past 1900 years, the Jewish people have wandered the earth in fulfillment of this prophecy, being harassed and persecuted wherever they went.
So how is it that a civilization can remain intact after being scattered across the planet for nearly 2,000 years? This certainly does not seem to be true for the biblical enemies of Israel. The Amalekites, the Philistines, the Ammonites, and many others have long since disappeared. Here opens the era of the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. These men are referred to as the major prophets from the size and importance of their books. Minor prophets such as Amos, Zephaniah, and Daniel also wrote prophecies that state many times that the people will remain as one people, and no obstacle will prevent the restoration of Israel.
Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever.
The prophet Ezekiel lived in Israel around 586 BC. During this time he had a remarkable vision called the Valley of the Dry Bones.
I'm standing at the top of the Kidron Valley, a deep ravine that runs north and south, separating the old city on the west from the Mount of Olives over here on the east. As you can see, the Mount of Olives is covered with thousands of graves. The reason that this is such a popular burial place is because the prophet Zechariah says that when the Messiah returns, he will return to the Mount of Olives. And so it is believed those buried here will be the first to be resurrected. Every time I stand here, I am reminded of the great prophecy of Ezekiel about the end-time regathering of the Jewish people. It is recorded in Ezekiel 37.
And he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel.
That vision was given to Ezekiel 2,500 years ago. According to the vision, a time would come when the Jewish people as a nation would appear to be without hope. But just at the time when the world would write off the Jews as a hopeless people, God would resurrect them from their graves and bring them home to Israel. And note, Ezekiel said they would be regathered to Israel, not to Canaan, or Zion, or the Holy Land, or Palestine, but Israel. And that is precisely the name this land was given when the Jewish state was reestablished in 1948. Isaiah says that the root of Jesse will stand as a flag that will signal to the Jewish people to come home to Israel from the four corners of the earth.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse which shall stand for an ensign of the people, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.